Okay, Redline Logbook is back, and this is ranking all Danmachi Avengers Part 2. In Part 1, I already did all level 1s and 2 Avengers, so if you want to hear that, you should go back and watch it before you start this. But starting at 64, Yuri, the werewolf during the Argonaut adventure. He's a level 0, because he has no fauna. The guy is a real monster, able to crush actual monsters that shouldn't be possible for a level 0 to do. And during a full moon, like all werewolves, he goes Super Saiyan basically, and he's able to crush even stronger monsters. The guy even killed dragons. But the full moon only comes out once a month, so he's only at his most powerful once a month. Not even during the entire day, only at night. So that's why he's the bottom of the level 3's roughly power level. 63, we got Rokta. She's a bunny girl from the Loki familia. Mostly a supporter, but she's actually really good at map making as well. So they rely on her as a scout, basically, whenever they go to a new region, the labyrinth, or really anywhere, they make sure that she's there to basically guide them in case something happens. Other than that, she's just a level 3 supporter, so not really the most powerful. At 62, we got Lyra, the Prum from the Estrella familia. She's actually quite brilliant. She consistently invents items for the purposes of fighting, like bombs, smoke. Basically, she fights using trickery. She's also the one who taught Ryu how to play cards properly. She's basically a professional con artist in ways. But yeah, taking her trickery into account and her high intelligence, she's actually quite formidable. She even helped out fighting against a level 7, of all things. At 61, we got Cassandra. Cassandra isn't a frontliner, she's a healer, so she stays in the back. But she's actually quite gifted at her healing. She's probably the second best healer in all of Oreo, which would make her the second best in the world. And she's finally learned to stop fighting against her prophecies and learning how to guide people in the direction that will lead to her survival and theirs as well. So this is actually an important gift because it's basically what kept everyone alive during volumes 13 and 14. But once again, she's not really combat-oriented, so she's at the bottom end of the level 3s. At 60, we got, surprisingly, Hykinesos. This surprised me because I expected him to be much higher because he was Bel's big boss fight to become a level 3. But the fact of the matter is that he consistently leveled up the moment he got a chance to level up. He didn't really focus on making sure to make himself stronger as much as possible. So all of his stats are quite low. His level 1 stats are low, level 2 stats are low, level 3 stats are low. Basically, he relied heavily on leveling up and less on base stats, which are extremely important if you want to actually be, powerful. Then at 59, we got Samara. She is the white-haired Amazon for the Ishtar familia. She's now currently in a different familia. We don't know what it is, but she's she's basically a fighter. That's all there is to her. She didn't really show much martial arts, in fact, which is a surprise for an Amazon, because when Mikasa fought with her, she was able to use her martial arts to basically pin Samara into the ground and just smash her literally into the concrete. Now, this didn't knock her out because their levels were 1 or 2 and 3, so there was no way a 2 was going to knock it out 3, but still, Samara, you would think she would have more, martial arts skill. Like, that's what Amazons do, but for some reason, she just isn't one of them. At 58, we have Elmira. She's the Amazon warrior from the Argonaut series. She's also was one of the greatest heroes in the history of the ancient times. Her straight-up combat ability is on another level. She was able to basically beat every other hero by herself without even trying in the Amazon series. She's just that powerful at the time, which is an insane thing to say out loud. Because once again, she's also a level 0. She has no fauna before the gods. So she's just an OP character in a time when people were just OP. At 57, we got Dormal. Dormal is a simple dwarf man who is in love with Ina, but for the most part, he's actually quite strong, because him and his familia, which are like 3 other people, have a tendency to go into the lower floors all the time and go on, fulfill quests and missions for the guild. In fact, when things were actually getting really bad during the side series, they were also employed by the guild to handle certain top secret missions. So if you have the trust of the guild to do top secret missions, then that means you must be powerful. You must have certain levels of strength that are required to fill these duties. Yeah, Dormal is definitely, at least in the middle area, if not the upper end of level 3s. I'd say he's probably in the middle, though. At 56, we got Livis. Livis is the exact same as Dormal. The guild very much trusts him to fulfill missions that he's supposed to do. Also, level 3 who consistently does quests in the lower fill. Guy, he's got what it takes to be in the middle ranks of a level 3. The reason why I put him above Dormal is the simple fact that he can use magic. And in the Danmachi universe, if you can use magic, you basically have a insane advantage over other people who don't. Because Dormal has to require magic swords. At 55, we got Daphne. Daphne is insanely more powerful than she's actually tries to be. She actively goes out of her way to not do anything because she was a part of Apollo's family and she hated Apollo. In fact, she even has a magic that is able to boost her speed. In fact, the fastest member of Belle's familia, other than Belle, of course, because it's Belle, is Makoto. She's just extremely on agility. With the boost of magic that Daphne gets with her own spell is incredible. She's faster Makoto using level boost, which is just an insane thing to say out loud. Daphne 100% has the combat ability if she just was willing to use it, but she's now starting to. Because she actually likes Belle and his friends and such, and she actually wants to be part of their group. So I definitely see great things happening with her in the future. At 54, we have Artie. She's actually the little sister of Shakti, the captain of the Ganesha familia. She died during the Astrea record, but she's actually quite powerful. She was once considered to be on par with Ryu at the time when she was a level 3. We didn't really see her use any magic or anything like that, but for the most part, she seems to be a straight brawler because she focused mostly on her fists, unlike her sister who used a spear. But yeah, when it came to a level 3, I would say she was probably on the upper end of it. At 53, we have Boris. Boris is basically the leader of Reveria, and, well, surprisingly enough, he's actually quite powerful, because when he was stranded in the lower floors, surrounded by monsters that were on a rampage to kill everything in sight, he actually survived without a sword, shield, or anything. With his bare fist, he was actually able to just beat his way through the monsters. I did not expect him to be as strong as he is, but it makes sense, because he straight up says he's the strongest guy in Reveria. And it was proven to be true. At 52, we got Argonaut. Yeah, Argonaut, even though he's a level 0, because he has no fauna, after he gets his hands on a sword made from a spirit, a lightning spirit called Jupiter, he basically is a total badass. He was able to defeat a Minotaur. Now, he did need a little bit of help from the princess, but for the most part, he did it himself. He was able to go toe-to-toe with a Minotaur, which is already a level 2 monster, but this Minotaur was an irregular enhanced because it consumed other monsters, which means it ate stones. This thing was probably one of the strongest monsters in the history of the world pre the Era of the Gods. It was something that was so powerful, it was able to basically protect an entire city from other human invasions, monster attacks, anything and everything was fed to this Minotaur, and it slaughtered and ate everyone. And yet Argonaut was able to beat it, thanks to the power of a spirit and just being himself. Hey, we're finally into the level 4. C1 is Seal. Seal shows up in Familiar Chronicle Book of Freya, where he's this tatted up mercenary elf. The guy does not fight normally. The way he does combat is what he'll do is he'll curse someone, basically mind manipulate them into seeing the person they love the most, and then he will then disguise as that person or use a third party to then kill that individual who can't obviously attack the person that they love the most. He's dead now because he pissed off the wrong cat, but that's not really the point. The point is, he's the weakest level 4, he even admits it himself, for the simple fact that he doesn't actually have any good base stats. His speed, his durability, his strength, all of it isn't the best because the way he leveled up was by defeating higher level monsters and, well, people. And he did that by, once again, tricking them and assassinating them. He didn't actually have to go head on like Belle does, for most adventures. So he basically is the lowest of the low of stats-wise. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if there are level 3s out there that can beat him, but I just don't know. At level 5, we have Narvi. She's a member of the Loki familia, and, well, she's part of the mid group, where she's not part of the elites, but she's right under there, where basically she follows the orders of Raoul and Anakitty. And basically her job is to basically handle the stuff that the lowers can't handle, but the uppers don't need to waste their time with. At 49, we have Alicia. Also a member of the Loki familia, basically in the same position as every other level 4. They handle the stuff the lowers can't handle, but the top tiers don't need to waste their time with. She's also an archer, damn good one at that. And of course she's an elf, so she knows magic. Cruz, Beastman, Loki familia, same deal as the last two. Man's job is basically to do what the others do too. It's really nothing changed. Just that he has more strength and better senses because he's a Beastman. At 47 we have Barca. Barca is a member of Thanatos familia, member of Evilus, and he's also the one obsessed with building the labyrinth. You would think that someone who's so withered wouldn't be as strong as he is, but he's actually quite powerful because the guy is able to make magical items, including cursed swords. So the guy's abilities are actually quite up there. Simple fact that if he gets you with one of his swords, you die. Like, you will bleed to death. So you basically have to avoid all of his attacks while trying to take down a level 4. Barca's kind of busted in that way. At 46, we got Tamaz. This dude was a member of the Ishtar Familia, and now he's a member of the Freya Familia. He was the only male. The guy basically was the manservant at the same time. He was the vice captain of the Ishtar Familia. From what we can tell, he's actually quite formidable, because when Bel was a level 3, he easily pinned Bel down, even though Bel at that point was relatively on par with a low level 4, because Bel's base stats are so busted. That's just how Bel is. So yeah, no, this guy's actually pretty good. At 45, we have Hashana. Hashana, for most people who don't know this, is actually a member of the Ganesha Familia. He's the guy who had his head caved in and his face peeled off and uses a mask. But he is still a level 4, and he also was one of Ganesha's most trusted men. He actually knew about the Xenos. He would go into the deep floors doing missions to supply them with food, weapons, and such. And he's also actually the first adventurer Bel meets when he first enters Aurorio. At the time, he was actually doing gatekeeping duties. So the guy is very much relied on by Ganesha to basically be a police force, spy, all kinds of things. So if you have the trust of Ganesha, then, in my opinion, you have to be pretty powerful. Because Ganesha's a fool, but he's not an idiot. At 44, we got Gran. He's basically the right hand, the Glysos Familia. He's the guy who, well, for the most part, actually was able to hold his own against Gross when he was under the influence of the curse by Dix, which Gross is a level 5 monster, so being able to take on a level 5 monster who's in a weakened state is actually pretty impressive for a level 4. At 43, we got Fels. If you know anything about Fels, the dude basically has every magic item you can imagine that is possible. Guy has the ability to turn invisible, ability to hypnotize people, ability to create illusions, ability to throw people around. Honestly, it's kind of bullshit. Just the guy basically has infinite magic, spells, even though he's just a skeleton now. And probably the most bullshit thing he has is a golem made of adamantite that's basically able to just crush anything but, obviously, a level 6 adventurer with adamantite themselves. But still, Fels is absolutely busted. At 42, we got Vayner. Vayner's a half-prum for the Freya Familia. The Freya Familia all are roughly more powerful than the average adventurer of the same level, for the simple fact that they just train constantly in death matches. So you will actually be pushed to the point of literal death in the family, because they will bleed you out, they will break your bones, they will fuck you up. Like when Bel went through their baptism, the poor kid was almost broken mentally and physically the entire time. At 41, we got Vito. Vito, we haven't seen him since the Australia record, and he actually survives the end. Where he's at, I have no idea. He could be stronger now, but from what we know about him, he was actually quite powerful at the time. He was able to basically keep the Australia Familia held in place while other bad shit was happening. Also, real crazy fucker. At 40, we got Felga. He's the beast person, vice captain of the Hermes Familia. And like most beast people, he relies heavily on his strength and senses to fight. In fact, the man carries around a giant sword. He's probably one of the more powerful level 4s that exist out there. The simple fact is, while the Loki Familia, the Hermes Familia relies on being sneaky and trickery and such, and so does he, but he's also very much a powerhouse. At 39, we got Ryul. Now, Ryul is a member of the Loki Familia, and he's also the up-and-coming new captain. He's the leader of the second group, and he's actually quite powerful. Even though he tends to be a scaredy cat and doesn't believe in himself, he's actually quite good at what he does, and he's actually reliant. He was able to put a level 5 in a position where he was able to basically hold his own against her, until he had to run away, of course. He also has been able to survive in the deep floors, like the deeper parts of the deep floors. Like, the guy has the abilities to be a leader and the abilities to be a top-tier adventurer. Just the problem is he just lacks confidence. At 38, we got Anna Kitty. Anna Kitty is all the same things as Ryul, but superior, basically. She also lacks confidence as well. She sees herself as the unnamed person that gets killed while the heroes are glorious, just like Ryul does, which is sad. But the fact of the matter is, she's also extremely reliable, very useful, great leader, and her senses as an animal person gives her an edge in power-wise. Tied at 37, we have Lunuri and Chloe. They're the human and the black cat girl that work at the host of Familia. One used to be an assassin, the other used to be a bounty hunter. One relied on poisons, illusions, trickery, sleeping stuff, and the other relied on brute force strength. Quite simply, they're probably two of the strongest level 4s in the entire series. When I say this is a top tier level 4, I mean these two are top tier level 4s. They will crush pretty much any opponent or monster that gets in their way. At 36, we have Anya, also a waitress at the host's fertility, but she was also originally part of the Freya Familia, so she has an intense training under the baptism as well. So she's like the other two, a little bit more to her base. At 35, we have Leafia. Leafia is actually really easy to put as the topper end of level 4s because we actually get to see her slowly grow as time passed, where she learned how to concurrent chant, she learned how to fight not just in the back row but on the front lines. She became reliable as a person who is able to both attack, defend, buff opponents, heal, do all kinds of things at the exact same time, basically as a support in a fight. Plus, she has two major advantages that others do not. One, she made sure to always make sure her magic, her most powerful and her most important stat, was a level S before she leveled up. And two, she has a new skill, which is called Double Cannon, where she's able to cite a spell and then hold it in reserve, and then cite a second, and then choose which one she wants to use at that moment. If anyone else tried to do this, they would explode. Their magic would backfire because you can only hold one spell at a time. Leafia is the only sorcerer in the entire series that is able to have two at the same time. Oh wait, no, she actually has a third, even another skill, which allows her to copy the spell of any elf she sees, as long as she understands how it's done, and she's able to chant it. What she's do, she has chant the spell, her spell, and then chant that spell on top of it, and then she's able to mimic that spell. So it takes her twice as long to cast any spell, but once again, she can have an infinite number of spells, while other spellcasters can have a max of 3. So all of her skills are level S in magic. She can cast 2 spells at the exact same time, and she can cast infinite number of spells as long as she knows about it. Yeah, no, Leafia is without a doubt one of the more powerful level 4s out there. At 34, we have Asfi, the captain of the Hermes Familia. She primarily focuses on making magic items, fighting and trickery, and she usually plays a support role. But the fact of the matter is, she also can, once again, fight on the front lines. She does this in the series all the time. Her high level of intellect combined with her trickery, magic items, everything about her, she is without a doubt above and beyond what anyone else is in the Hermes Familia. At 33, we got Kaguya. Kaguya was a master swordsman from Far East, also a member of the Estrella Familia. She was probably the strongest sword fighter within their familia. In fact, she's the one who taught Ryu everything she knows about sword fighting. She's definitely one of the more reliable adventurers back during the Dark Age, back when there were all kinds of war and death going on in Aurora, when Evilus was at its strongest. At 32, we got Aisha. Aisha is definitely one of the more powerful level 4s that exist. In fact, I would say she's probably in the top 3. And I say this because, one, she's an Amazon with her own fighting style, which resembles a dancer's, where she heavily relies on her leg to strike and kick with. She's also a master swordsman, powerful magic that allows her to create a giant red slash attack. And also, the simple fact that her durability is insane. She's probably the one who can take the greatest beating of any level 4 in the entire series. Other than Bell, of course. Bell's a different breed. It's one of the main reasons why Bell and his group heavily rely on her. 31, we have Ryu. Ryu is probably the best level 4 living at the moment. Her power is absolutely absurd. She's able to current chant while moving at accelerated speed, while attacking, defending, casting. Oh my god. She has all the aspects you could possibly want. Plus, she learned to actually do it as quickly as possible, because the faster she goes, she has a skill that increases all of her stats. She actively pursues mass speed while she's casting, and while fighting, period, because she just becomes stronger. Quite simply, she just overwhelms her opponent with speed, power, magic, all aspect. There's really no way you can beat her unless you just have better numbers than she does. Her only major weakness is the simple fact that she separated herself from her goddess for years now and is completely unable to increase her stat no matter how much she goes through, because at this point she should be a level 5. If we're just being honest with ourselves. And at 30, the last person on this video, the strongest level 4, Alice. Alice was the captain of the Estrella Familia, She's dead now, unfortunately. But the fact of the matter is, she was able to use her charisma and her actual straight-up strength to keep the Astria Familia together. Her personally, she was one of the people who was actually feared by the Evilos Familias. They straight up looked at her as particularly. Now, they straight up in general, but her particularly was the target that they all wanted to kill, but also made sure that they didn't want to pick a fight with, because they'd probably end up getting their asses kicked. So if you're that scary to a group of people whose sole purpose is spread chaos and death, then you must be a pretty badass powerhouse. Alright, that's the end of part 2. Next time, I'll finish off what's left of the adventures. If you enjoy this video, please subscribe, give a thumbs up so you can enjoy more Danmachi and other anime things. Thank you, and have a great day.